water, earth, fire.
Today we're going to make the Miata shoot fire one way or another. So to do that, we need to understand how cars shoot fire, why they do it, and then we'll figure out how to make it happen on the Miata. I'm Zach, this is Snake Pit. Let's play with some fire, baby. You know, this week I wanted to put some sway bars on the car, but Eddie had this great idea that it would make a sweet video if we made the Miata shoot fire, and everybody agreed with Eddie. So today we're gonna make the Miata shoot fire. All right, before we go getting too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a look on the internet and get some inspiration for what kind of fireballs we're gonna be able to shoot with the Miata. Car shoot fire. All right, so he's heating up his exhaust right now by revving it. So basically this is, I think, you know, fire on D-cell. The ECU is sending a bunch of exhaust or a bunch of fuel into the exhaust while the car is decelerating. Normally there's no fuel there. That super hot exhaust ignites the excess fuel that's in the exhaust, right? So then you get those nice long flames. Okay, so we got a Evo in Japan. Ooh, that's sweet. So that's what you call pops and bangs. You can hear him when he shifts, when he lets off the gas pedal, you hear that pow, 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 that crackles and pops. That's basically what anti-lag is. Basically blowing up fuel in the exhaust manifold, which forces your turbo to spin. Now, when I think about tailpipes shooting flames, I think about like this Evo spitting fire. And so the first thing I think about is controlling a standalone and getting a specific map made, or maybe, you know, just reprogramming the ECU with like a flash tune. But the problem is I can't do either of those things on the Miata. It doesn't have a standalone and there's no flash tune software for the Miata out there, so we're gonna have to figure something else out. That said, we still do want to talk about this way to shoot fireballs because it is awesome. So I thought, hey, my roommate's got a new car that you can do this stuff on. So I hit up RK Tunes. They make a bunch of BMW tunes. They sent us some files that we loaded onto this old computer, and now we're gonna put them onto the ECU. I guess the process for this really started yesterday. RK Tunes sent us a cable and we downloaded some software. And yesterday we came out with that cable, we plugged it into the OBD2 port in the car and into the computer, and then the software allows us to pull the stock information basically off the computer. And we sent it back over to RK Tunes. Now they know what we're working with and what files to send us back. So we sent over our files yesterday, told them we wanted some flames, and this morning got an email full of files. And now it's time to hack into the mainframe and put the flame files on the ECU. So let's get into it. All right, the car is running, so we're gonna let it warm up before we go drive it and try to make fire. Now, I'm not exactly positive exactly what RK Tunes changed to give us fire, but I have a good idea. I'm sure that fire is gonna happen on deceleration. And normally, when you're driving your car, on deceleration, your fuel injectors shut off completely and there's no fuel entering your engine on decel. Now, when you want fire and you want pops and bangs and anti-lag and stuff like that, you turn your fuel injectors back on during decel. So they're shooting a little bit of fuel into your engine while you're decelerating, even though you don't need any. Then they'll change your ignition timing so that your spark occurs way later than it normally would. Like after your piston already goes to top dead center and it's already on its way back down, then the spark fires. So there's only enough combustion happening in the combustion chamber, in the cylinder, just to barely keep the car running. Most of that combustion is now happening in the exhaust manifold because of how late that ignition timing is happening. So the flame map that we just put on here will almost certainly dump some fuel on decel and retard ignition timing. And I think that's how we're gonna see fire. So there's nothing left to it but to do it. We're letting the car warm up right now, then we're gonna hit the streets and make some fire. So we got Sarone's car to shoot flames. I know it's kind of hard to see because it's daytime out, but fast forward to some nighttime footage. Oh, that's the fire I'm talking about. So now I'm fully inspired to get the Miata to shoot flames. So it's time to do what we need to do. I think I've got all the parts I need and we're gonna make some flames, one way or another. Let's do it. What it boils down to is that you need unburnt fuel in the exhaust and you need a way to ignite that unburnt fuel. Now, a lot of cars, like supercars and stuff, the way they ignite the fuel is by running really hard and having an exhaust that is just super hot, and that super hot exhaust ignites the unburnt fuel. So I'm not just gonna sit here and rev the Miata until the exhaust is hot enough to ignite unburnt fuel. So we need to figure out how to ignite unburnt fuel in the exhaust a different way. So I went to Home Depot and got a grill igniter like you would use in a potato cannon. Basically in here, there's a little piece of quartz, and when you smack it with the clicker, it creates voltage. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a spark jumping right there. So now we've got our ignition sorted out. Now we just need to figure out the unburnt fuel. For that, I've got a few ideas. We got spark in the exhaust, so we might as well see if there's enough unburnt fuel already in there to make fire. Probably not, but it's worth a shot. I do smell some unburnt fuel, so you know, I think this is gonna work.
That, I think you just became the most popular guy in the neighborhood.
I'm already the most popular guy in the neighborhood. So the just revving it thing didn't work, which means we need to get more unburnt fuel into the exhaust. So my next move is to pull a spark plug wire. So the ECU still thinks we're running on 4 cylinders here. So each of these cylinders is getting fuel, right? But now number 4 doesn't have a spark. So 25% of the fuel that goes into this engine is now going to be coming out the exhaust unburnt. Hopefully that's enough for that grill igniter to catch on fire. Okay, so that didn't work either. So I want to check and make sure that the ignition source isn't our issue. So we're going to forget the grill igniter for just a second, and we're just going to hold a torch to the tailpipe while we rev it, just to see if there's enough unburnt fuel there to catch on fire if there's already fire present. Okay, so pulling a spark plug wire didn't work either. Apparently we still don't have enough unburnt fuel in the exhaust. So one of the ways that you make flames is by retarding ignition timing on D-cell. I can't control ignition timing just on D-cell, but I can control it entirely, and that might allow us to get more of that unburnt fuel into the exhaust and maybe see some flames. I kind of doubt it, but we're trying everything. So we'll turn the sensor, we'll retard the timing, and we'll see if that makes fire. All right, you can tell by how bad the engine's running that our timing is now retarded. So, time to grab the spark, give it a rev, see if we make any fire. If she'll even rev. Sorry. All right, so retarding the timing by itself didn't seem to be enough. So now we're gonna put 2 of my brilliant ideas together, and we're gonna pull a spark plug with the timing. It probably is not even gonna run now, but maybe it'll make fire. Okay, so that didn't work either. Eddie? You look like you got hurt.
Startling.
Well, none of that stuff worked, so what are we gonna do? I have one more idea. I went online earlier this week and I bought a bunch of odds and ends. And amongst them, I think we'll be able to make this thing shoot flames. We're gonna hook up the propane tank to a 12-valve solenoid that I'll be able to control the switch, which will let propane flow into the exhaust, and then we'll hit our sparker, right? And it's as simple as that. Then we should have some big ass flames. So right here, we've got a little bung for one of those barbs, pretty poorly welded in by yours truly. Not too good at TIG welding yet. Okay, now let's see. All right, that'll be our propane. Okay, so now from there, I guess it's a solenoid. It runs on 12 volts. See that? It's closed. But you run 12 volts to it, flick a switch, she opens up, let some propane through, you make some flames. And I don't think we're gonna need hose clamps on these ends, but you know, I could be wrong. So now we gotta get from this to this. We'll run this thing into here. It's a little reducer. Psh, perfect. You know, I'm starting to think about like this whole week when I've been like, oh yeah, this is gonna be no big deal. We'll just hook up some propane and some switches and some stuff and we'll make fire. Booyah. Okay, so that's our propane line finished. Basically, we're ready to, you know, screw this onto the propane tank, but we're not gonna do that until we have the switch wired up and ready to go. So let's do that real quick. So for that, last night I printed a little switch panel. The head unit will go here, then this will be our propane switch, and then our grill igniter button will go right there. So, you know, fit and finish. Ugh. All right, so we're just gonna do this quick and dirty. So for a ground, I'm just gonna wrap this copper wire around this little bolt and put it in here. Now, this is not the correct way to officially ground something, but you know, it works. So now, if that's grounded, our battery's right here. When I click this to the positive, since that's grounded, our switch should click. So let's find out. You hear that? That's a solenoid opening. Just waiting to let propane through. Okay, so that works. Now we just need to run the switch up front. So you can see light right through there, all the way back to the trunk. So we'll use that hole, run our wires through there, run them up and under, in through the center console, and up to the switch panel, like we planned it. We've got the wire going back to the solenoid. Now we need to find power up here to send back to it. Now we could have routed wire up from the battery, but that just seems silly when we've got all this here. I'll probably just strip some of this back and just kind of tie into it for now. Okay, so that's the ground for the switch light. Okay, now this is power. So once this is plugged in, the switch should work. Ready?
Yep. Hey, hey.
We're in business, folks, we're in business. And I think we're just gonna stuff these wires in there for now, cause well, look at what we're doing. And that's as good as that's gonna get. Okay, now all we gotta do is hook up the propane tank and we're ready to shoot flames, I think. Are you ready for this?
I am.
Do you think it's gonna work?
100%.
Yeah, me too. Are you concerned at all?
Not at all. Not my house.
Yeah, I've got a touch of concern, you know, flaring up, but best thing to do in those kind of situations is screw the tank in. Okay, you guys ready? Propane on.
Are you certain the propane's on?
Well, I don't smell it.
Yeah, it's clicking.
Well, okay, so it's clicking. This was pressurized. That's all straight through. Flow goes that way. There's no propane coming out. Is my solenoid busted? All right, so it doesn't seem like we're getting enough propane out of the exhaust. I think we need to hog this thing out. One way or another, we need to improve flow through our adapter. So let's take it apart, see what we can do. So deep in there's a little ball. You can hear it. I think its job is just to restrict flow to make things a little more safe. In our case, that's the exact opposite of what we want. What do you know? So I gotta figure out how to get that ball out of there. I see you, ball. I will get to you. I don't know if we spend enough time saying this, but don't do this at home. You ready to see a ball? I hope.
Hey.
We got max flow now. Let's see if it blows up. Gives me the willies. Found a leak. Found several leaks. Sweet. Okay, so the problem we're having now is the pressure side, and what I mean by the pressure side is everything between the propane tank and the solenoid. The tubing, basically, that's gonna be under pressure all the time, leaks at every single joint. And I guess if we're being honest, we probably could have seen that coming. I gotta tighten this stuff up. We're gonna maybe add some JB weld into here. We need to make it so that this can hold whatever the pressure in that tank is. I think like 150 pounds. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Okay, I see you. You guys saw what happened. We got a leak there, so now we're gonna add some JB weld there. And I guess while we're at it, we should do the bottom too, huh? I don't wanna do this again. See if we fix anything.
Did that work?
I think she's sealed. It's not leaking. It's time to try this shit.
I'm a little scared now.
So am I, honestly. At this point,
Tell me worst case scenario, what might happen here?
Burn down the house, burn down the Miata, burn down us. The house is right here. All right, guys, if it's gonna work, this is gonna be it. If this doesn't make fire, we're going back to the drawing board. Now, I'm gonna start the car so it doesn't go backwards into the exhaust. You guys ready?
Hit it. Yo, that's gonna be huge. That's gonna be huge.
That's like a lot of propane.
So much f***ing propane.
Dude, yeah, I don't know about that.
All right, so you guys saw how much propane came out of the exhaust tip. More than I was expecting, I'll tell you that. So what we're gonna do is put the car on the ground, move it a little further away from the house, and then try again. You got that hose ready? This is the moment of truth. It works or we die. Okay, so we decided to turn the engine off because I think the exhaust might be diluting the propane to the point that it won't fire. And that's not acceptable. What the hell? I can still hear it. Yeah.
What you should do is give it a squirt, let it chill on there, Zach, then you light the squirt on fire because it's not going to catch anymore.
Right.
And then you run, and then we ignite it.
And then you do it.
Yeah. Oh shit. Woo!
The car's on fire. So roll in your butt, bro.
All right, so our ignition system seems to be the issue. So we're talking about taping a torch to the bumper. We got the GoPro setup to end all GoPro setups here. It's gonna hold the torch over here where it hopefully won't get extinguished by the exhaust. So let's see if we can get it all rigged up. Good? Ha ha! That's how you make fire with a Mazda Miata. That's basically anti-lag, I think. Well, what did we learn today, folks? We made a couple different types of fire. We had a lot of fun. And I think really ultimately we learned that if you want to make fire with your car, you got to do it the right way. You got to go the standalone ECU or a tune on your ECU, because what we did with the Miata did not work out too well, but the flames coming out of that 2 Series are some of the coolest things I've ever seen. So please do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on Instagram at ZachJob, follow Donut at Donut Media, and we'll see you guys next week when we are doing one of my ideas, not Eddie's. This was a day, man.